Now the world is waiting for you and the power you possess. Oh, yeah, that's right. And what power are we possessing here? It's me, Nick the Merc with a mic, and my fellow unapologist.
That segue made no sense.
I have no idea.
Travis.
I just wanted to sing in the Wonder Woman theme song. I was like, I'll sing it, and there's got to be some sort of transition here. And then the next line was, in your satin tights, so I thought, like, we'll avoid that. Fighting for your rights. Indeed. But yes, we're going to be talking about the Wonder Woman movie. And it's getting some pretty positive reviews right now.
Yes.
People are screaming about it. They're raving. Apparently it's pretty good. We've seen it. We got opinions.
Mm-hmm.
Is it that good, though? Is it as good as, say, the Marvel films? Not to make that, a super unfair comparison.
Well, it's kind of hard not to make the comparison.
Yeah, name me one film name one Marvel film this reminds you of.
Captain America and Thor, actually.
Oh, name me another Marvel. Oh wait, you just never mind then. Fuck you.
Beat you to it.
But yeah, this is the latest for the DC crop, and yeah, I'm gonna get into it. I'm not gonna put a lot of suspense on this. Oh my god, finally.
I kind of wish that this wasn't the latest and it was just the first.
Oh my god, it's nice to have, like, look, and I know that there's all these think pieces of, like, does the success actually prove the Marvel bias of, like, the DC films, or is it the DC film that fans were waiting for, or was it the one that it's actually a good? And I'm like, just shut up, shut up. It's just a good movie. Like, it's actually structured well. People, like, things happen in sequential order, and
shocking.
And they have a narrative structure to them. It has a 3-act structure.
And it doesn't have a trailer for different movies in it.
It has a theme. I kind of know what the movie's about the whole time.
It also has a theme song.
Yeah, we'll get into that. Not everything's great.
Some things are allowed to be desired, but minor things.
Okay, so yeah, let's just run down the plot real quick. Wonder Woman is born on Themyscira. She's like the only kid on there. She's made out of clay. Mm-hmm. Her mommy, Hippolyta, doesn't want her to become a warrior. She's worried about her little princess, apparently.
Do people have different jobs than warrior on Themyscira?
Oh yeah, they got a lot of jobs. There's guards, there's trainers,
Witch-knee warrior.
Yeah, there's the chick that runs the gym. And also they actually have, like, scholars and all that other stuff too. But
I mean, you gotta teach people languages somehow.
Yeah, but everyone's like a warrior, at least on the side.
Right.
Yeah, it's like their side job at least.
Subclass.
Yeah, I just and then they have this training montage of all the Amazonian women, and if there's one thing that's a little that's pretty cool is that there's a lot of women in here that I actually kind of believe. I'm like, oh yeah, that's an Amazon.
A big black lady.
You see that big black lady?
She took them down. I'm like, no, you're not getting back up.
I'm like, okay, that's what I think of when I think of an Amazon.
Yeah, she took them out. I was like, yeah, I don't want to fight her. She would eat me.
And yeah, so Diana comes up, and kind of this, this child actress playing Diana comes up and starts, making the moves all together. She gets the story told to her about Ares and how he fucked up the other gods when they created man, because man sucks. And Ares was like, no, fuck them. And then the gods were like, no, fuck you. And then they fight. And apparently Ares just can kill all the gods.
Yeah, that's
weird.
Seems weird to me.
Well, and then they're playing around with the mythology. Like, Ares is Zeus's son this time around. When I think he was supposed to be like his brother.
Yeah,
I thought.
I mean, it's Greek mythology. He could be both.
Yeah, I have. So I'm not super up on my Greek mythology, but yeah, that's the deal. Zeus left the Amazons and the god, something called the God Killer, with them, so in case Ares ever came back. And so that's where
foreshadowing.
And so I did love that scene where they show Diana the God Killer, or the sword, and she's like, who would wield it? Oh, only the strongest among us even could, and that's not you.
And look at her face, like, challenge accepted, bitch.
Yeah, she's and yeah, that child actress wasn't very good though.
Yeah.
Like, Maybe it's just because we've been spoiled with good child actresses or child actors lately, like the kids from Stranger Things and the kid from Beast of No Nation. Like we've had, and then even Laura from not X-Men, Logan. Mm-hmm. I guess I was just kind of like, wow, she's pretty stiff. Where's your accent?
She's pretty young too, though, isn't she?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, but like, still though, it felt like we were getting to the point of like, wow, are we really upping our game child actor wise? And then I saw this, I was like,
no.
But she's not in it for that long. She's only in it for a couple minutes.
It might be a little different having an 8-year-old act.
Yeah. So then we see Gal Gadot grow up and train to be an Amazon warrior. Anyway.
Yeah, against her mother's wishes, because of her aunt.
Yeah, and I forget her aunt's name, but she's pretty badass too.
It's like Antiope or something like that.
Yeah. And so they train up until they, they push her, and then suddenly they while she's trying to defend herself against an attack, she makes this giant sphere magic thing, and then they kind of forget that she did that. Like, I like the film is like, or I get that she's like just realizing like, whoa, I have like crazy cool powers. That's neat. But she never, like, questions why, like, she has these powers. I mean, we as the audience can figure it out pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But her is, like, she never even questioned it, which I thought was weird. But she doesn't have time because a sexy hunk of man meat known as Steve Trevor comes along and in the form of Chris Pine this time. And he crashes into Themyscira, or into the water, actually. Diana fishes him out, and he's followed by German, or an Ottoman, was it? Or German/Ottoman soldiers?
I mean, it's World War I, so I think it'd be German at that time.
Yeah.
But they were like, well, it was based out of the Ottoman Empire. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, anyway, a bunch of these soldiers, we'll say Germans because we like to fight the Germans. They come ashore, and we get our first Amazonian battle, which is pretty kick-ass.
Yeah.
I do like that. Of course, some of the Amazons get taken out during the battle, including the sister, her trainer, which is like it's not cool. And I love like this moment where Steve, like, he helps him out during the fight. Like, okay, I'm gonna help you guys out. Watch out for these bullets. Guns kind of suck. And after the battle's over, like, Queen Hippolyta looks at him like, you. And I swear to God, I thought I heard him go, meep. Because he's just like, oh fuck,
I might have made a mistake.
And turns out he gives some exposition underneath the lasso of truth, which is actually a pretty good way to introduce the lasso of truth. Pretty smart to use it to get exposition out and describe one of her weapons and its power set.
Right.
A good double whammy. And that's what I think I really appreciate about this film, is that it takes the time to be efficient with its storytelling. Like, hey, here's the plot of the story, here's what's going on in World War I, and also we're establishing this other thing that's also happening.
It does a good job of like both showing and telling as well.
Yeah, and I do love that the rope is like there's a moment where you're thinking like the Steve under the influence of the rope is kind of like, you might be enjoying this a little too much.
Oh, definitely. He has this moment where we're like, that is kind of hot.
Is it hot in here? Ooh. And he tells them all about this new gas and weapon, tells them basically all about World War One, and then Wonder Woman's like, oh shit, well that's got to be Ares, right? And like he would be totally in charge. He would totally be for a war that involved everybody. Yeah. That's totally his thing.
Like I think he even calls like a war without ends. Like, no, that's a trigger word for Ares.
Yeah, and Hippolyta's like, no, we aren't leaving Themyscira undefended. Wonder Woman's like, wait, isn't this our whole entire job? Like, why aren't we kind of getting on this? And so, yeah, they...
She kind of has a point, though.
Well, yeah, it's well, she's been fed this story of like humans are basically good, and then Ares kind of came and corrupted them and made them fight each other, so that kind of sucked. So she's under this presumption that humans are pretty all right. It's just the fact that if this fucker Ares wasn't around, everything would be cool. And I love how everyone else around her is just kind of like, I don't know about that. But then again, maybe they shouldn't have fed her that tail when she was really young then.
Right.
So, yeah, she takes off with Steve, and they go and try and find Ares, and that's basically the running narrative throughout the rest of the film. Now, as much as I do like this film, there were some problems I had in the beginning, with as much as I really like the look of Themyscira, and then the fact that it's in the daylight.
And there's color.
And there's color going on. The Amazonians are pretty cool. The fight scene is really neat, but it's readily apparent they don't have the technology down to where CGI people look. They look like a lot like CGI people. Like as soon as they start to use a CGI person, it's like that looks like a puppet.
Yeah.
But it's all right. The fight scenes are actually pretty well shot. I don't like the whole you don't even know Diana. You know nothing about them. I'm like, well then, bitch, tell her.
Right.
I mean, as much as I know that this is the type of thing for this, whole hero's journey thing, that they go out there without the full context of what's happening.
They have to learn it themselves.
I'm getting really sick of this generic, I can't tell you this for undefined reasons. And it's like, should we? And then they have, of course, they have a bunch of these things towards the audience. Should we tell her? No. The more she knows, the sooner Ares will find her. And it's like, what?
Yeah, that's stupid.
That's really dumb. Like, sure, but wouldn't it be better if she knew exactly what was going on to better fight Ares? I feel like any time limit, any time gains you would get off of it would be, and then we find out later that like, oh yeah, Ares pretty much had her number ever since she left the fucking island.
Right.
And it's kind of hard to push that out of my mind of just like, God, that's such a fucking stupid trope.
Like it didn't even matter in the end.
I'm tired of that whole like, there's got to be a better reason to keep secrets from people other than for the plot. But yeah, the rest of this film is basically Diana and Steve getting a ragtag team of soldiers together to go fight Berluven something or other.
Something very German sounding.
And then his lackey Dr. Poison, I think, which was an awesome name, by the way, and she has a cool mask too. Yeah, and I really like a lot of the acting in this film. I really think that Chris Pine as Steve Trevor, he actually steals this fucking movie for me.
A little bit.
He is so charming. He is so funny as this version of Steve Trevor, to where he is just like he wants to do good, but he's actually he's a lot more realistic than Wonder Woman is, because she still has this kind of naivete about her.
Well, he's also a spy, so he's probably done and seen a lot of shitty things.
It's like, yeah, I like that he came to her before that. It's like, you lied. I'm like, yeah, I'm a spy. That's kind of what we do.
Yeah, remember when you had to use that lasso of truth to get stuff out of me?
Yeah, and yeah, I really like him and his joke. And oh my god, I think I have an update of Kyle. Kyle just texted me. This is live, you guys. He's texted me his review of Wonder Woman. Should we give it a look here?
Might as well.
Okay, here it is. Ooh, this will remind you guys, if you remember our Batman vs Superman review. Let's talk structure. If the film Wonder Woman were a building, it would pass inspection in most precincts. However, insurers may be wary of loose connections to the DCEU.
Oh.
This analogy doesn't work without a punchline. Okay. I appreciate that, Kyle. I like it a lot. So apparently he sounds like he has a very similar feel to me as well. Which there's a lot to like here. There's a lot to like about this film.
Right.
The World War I setting really fits with this theme of Wonder Woman kind of figuring out that, like, it's not just Ares that makes people douchebags.
People are kind of shitty sometimes.
People can kind of do that themselves, and there's no other better way to place this discovery than World War One, because of like how awful that fucking war was.
Yeah,
and
don't worry, it gets worse.
And yeah, spoiler.
Spoiler for history class.
Don't spoil the sequel for me, Travis. But yeah, she even runs into characters that are like, they kind of buy the Ares story, because wouldn't it be kind of nice if that was just the whole reason that we were fighting?
Maybe we aren't actually that shitty.
Yeah, and so that's a really smart move and it has a theme that you kind of get the whole time.
Yeah.
Like, you understand, like, what this movie's trying to get across, and like, oh, cool, I get it. I mean, it's sometimes it comes off as not very subtle, but it's appreciated where, you know, during films like Suicide Squad or Batman versus Superman, I'm kind of like, what's this movie trying to fucking tell me? Like, what is this movie trying to get across? Because it's so fucking confusing. The editing is still pretty good. There's a couple of shots that are a little weird. Like, there's one near the end where, like, Diana has to go pick up her sword in between shots, and it was like, what was the point of that? If there wasn't, like, a scene in between there, getting the sword.
Like, at first I thought that something was going to come out of that, but then just, like, nothing does. I'm like, okay, that just was a wasted scene then.
I think it was just that they had to cut something to get this film down, because this film is a little longer. It's 2 hours and 20 minutes.
True.
And I think there was some stuff ended up on the cutting room floor to get it down to under 2.5 hours.
I mean, still good props for the editor of this movie.
Yeah, and I mean, I really like I gotta mention again Chris Pine and this his kind of whole romantic angle with Gal Gadot works pretty good. I like the fact that Wonder Woman knows what sex is.
Yes.
Like, pretty extensively.
And knows languages and speaks them.
Mm-hmm. And I do like the fact that they pretty much, they didn't outright state that the Amazons were lesbians or bisexual, at least. But they did state that the tomes of whatever the hell they were talking about, and it was like these Greek tomes of oh yeah, I'm from ancient Greece. I know what sex is.
Yeah.
I know what it's about. And it's like, oh, well, these ancient tomes that you read about sex, they sound pretty interesting. You wouldn't like them. they pretty much come down to, like, men are necessary for reproduction, but not necessary for pleasure.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn. That seemed unnecessary.
You need a little salve for that burn.
So yeah, that's pretty nice. I think we'll have to go a little longer before we see any of the Amazons in an actual relationships with one another. But still, it's a neat concept, like this whole island of Amazon women called Paradise Island,
right.
which is nice. Like, they even commentate on that later. They get a ragtag team of culturally appropriate. It seems like that's the thing we do now. Like, they did the same thing in Captain America. We need our Howling Commandos. We need a racially diverse group of badasses to go and fight this thing. So they get a sniper, a Scottish sniper, what was he? Dang it, I don't know if they ever said what his nationality was, but he's like Middle Eastern, I think. Yeah,
he's definitely Middle Eastern, I just don't know.
Yeah, he plays like a, what do you call it, another spy, I think. And then we have a smuggler, a Native American smuggler, the chief, which is pretty good.
The guy's parents were Moroccan, he was born in France, so.
Oh, okay. He did speak French pretty well during the movie, yeah. So, yeah, I really, really like this whole, man on a mission idea that going on. It's a really good setup for this film. I think that the humor surprisingly worked for me before they hit the front. Like, this whole, like, her trying on dresses thing and kind of just, like,
it looked really awkward in the trailers, and it didn't come off as that bad in
I kind of like that her just trying to get through the revolving door a
battle
with a sword and the shield, and then she kind of gets back on her heels to do like this lunge thing, and I'm like, hey, she did it kind of like if it was like a practice run in a warrior thing. It's small, but it's like, hey, that's funny, and that's like feels really like something that actually she would do to try and figure it out. And they never really make Wonder Woman super dumb in this.
No.
They avoid the Thor thing where when Thor came to Earth, he was this, dumb kind of jock dude.
Right. And which is even weirder for Thor because they're supposed to be, an advanced race.
Mm-hmm. Well, he's also supposed to be a Viking early race or whatever, and the Amazons, the Themyscirians, they're supposed to be like this ambassadorship, I guess, apparently. And she is never portrayed as being very dumb. She just kind of doesn't get, like, she's very culturally unaware.
Right.
She knows a lot about, battle. She knows about sex. She speaks, like, almost, like, I guess all languages.
A lot of them.
So that's pretty cool. I don't know. What did you feel about it overall? Like, what were some of the things you really liked about it?
Well, I know I mentioned this, like, in the theaters, that there's this battle scene later on, and, like, Wonder Woman first comes up with the full outfit. I'm like, oh my god, there's color.
Yeah, there was
so happy.
It was this nice scene in No Man's Land where they make this big stand where Wonder Woman's like, I do like the fact that they treat her like, hey, there's people in need. We got to go and save them. It's like, we can't do that.
We have a mission. We have a job to do.
We got a thing to do. And I like that Steve is just like, look, we can't save everyone all the time.
Right.
Like, we can't stop and do absolutely everything.
Well, not only that, but their goal was to end the war. And completing their goal would solve a lot of things for a lot of people.
Right.
So it actually makes more sense that they would,
Well, Steve is a normal human being, so he's down in the trenches, he's got his eyes on the prize, and he's like, no, we gotta be focused, we gotta do this, and we gotta win the battles we can, because that's like how I rationalize things in this war.
Yeah.
And Diana's just like, no, fuck that. We're gonna go get him. So she runs out in the middle of No Man's Land, is like, oh, holy shit.
Well, also, if you notice, like, the one thing that triggered her the most was actually the woman saying that they were taking people as slaves. Which really got her going. We're like, nope, now it's personal. Now I'm going to go beat your asses.
Yeah. Well, they did gloss over that in the beginning exhibition, which was done like Greek painting style, which was neat. That the Amazons were enslaved at one point.
Yeah.
But then they led a revolt, and that's where the bracelets are supposed to come from. Is that idea. And yeah, so that's her a big thing for her. I'm surprised they even used chemical weapons with like what's going on in the world right now, and how awful they were. But it does make sense for showing like the horrors of war and all that. A couple more things I didn't quite like is that these villains, Ludendorff and Dr. Poison,
Amara, I think her name was,
are not very strong. In fact, I like barely remember anything about them.
Yeah.
And it seemed like the Dr. Poison was gonna get a little bit of a backstory when Chris Pine was talking her up at this party,
seducing her.
Yeah, and it was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then and then suddenly like we cut that. I was like, ah, damn it! Like I thought that might have been neat to get her perspective on stuff. Because she had a cool look. She probably has a neat backstory with like how that that mask turned out with her.
Right.
And at a certain point you understand that like she thinks Ludendorff is Ares, and as an audience member you're like, yeah, it's no way is he Ares.
No.
It's got to be somebody else. And yeah, we'll save that for a spoiler section. But it's not too hard to actually like figure out where this movie is pretty much going. Which is not too bad. They
do a fairly good job of at least like dissuading you from like looking too far. Where it's like, well, he's not Ares, but he's definitely a villain. Gotta take care of him.
And yeah, so and then I did mention how I liked some of the acting in this movie, and I'm hot and cold on Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman.
Yeah,
I like that the way she moves in her fight scenes, she has a great physicality, which I didn't know this, but she's actually served in the Israeli army.
Yeah, she also knows a bunch of martial arts.
Yeah, so I'm like, oh, okay, so she knows actually how to fight, so that probably translates well to these fight scenes. So when they're not using a CG rubber person, it looks, pretty good. I was like, oh, all right. The acting is actually, it's pretty good from her. It's probably the best I've seen from her specifically, because it actually helps that she has kind of this doe-eyed optimism sort of thing going on. And it's kind of like, just this wondrous, like, she sees snow for the first time, like, oh man, this is cool. We don't get this in Themyscira. And she kind of has this, like, wonderment sort of thing about her. And I'm like, oh, you know what? This might help with her, like, I don't want to say like lack of acting talent, but like relative inexperience is that, like, oh, it kind of helps her get this guileless performance going. And I'm like, okay, she comes out pretty, like, in the positive, but like not awesome, like not great, but pretty good. And I'm worried about how she's going to portray this older Wonder Woman that's seen some shit in the later movies.
I could see that.
But we're not talking about later movies, we're talking about this one, and then this one, it's pretty good.
No, I like her acting in this one a lot.
I have a couple more complaints about, like, the end where she has to show some more emotional moments, but that's a little more in the script writing, I think, than what she was asked to do. I don't know. What about you? Did you have anything that bothered you during the film?
Well, most things you mentioned, there are just some minor things. The biggest problem I have is like, wow, well, this means that we had to, keep going with this universe with the rest of the DCU.
Yeah, I'm almost mad. Right? Like, fuck, now we have to keep going. But we have a cool, female superhero, so that's good.
I mean, we have the first main starring, superhero.
Indeed.
That's a female. So
yep,
that's something DC has no matter what.
And then then we were talking about that action scene in No Man's Land 2 leads into an action scene in town, and she flips this truck or whatever, and I was like, "Fuck yeah!" The
action scenes in this movie are pretty cool looking.
They pretty much get Wonder Woman's kind of like fighting, like she gets I'm not sure if her fighting style is like the same in the comics or whatever. She doesn't fly, she like jumps really far. I don't, like, I have no idea what the extent of her other powers are, because she never does the shield, like,
the bracelets attack
thing again. And she has like this weird reflective ability later sort of thing. So her powers are a little, like, nebulous, but, like, that seems to be a constant thing. Like, I don't know exactly all her powers exactly either.
I just really love that the lasso was used in combat, and, like, multiple times, and it actually looked really cool. Yeah,
they had that glowy effect. It helps tracking what happens with that rope.
But also, it didn't, like, detract from the scene. It actually looked kind of cool like that.
And then, I really liked scenes like that, but then I have to dock for that the third act, the ending is very it's pretty typical. Like, by the time it starts, you pretty much know, like, there's no surprises for like the last 20 to 25 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, you pretty much know exactly where this is all going. And all the so-called, like, the twists, like, everything that they reveal is pretty apparent from, like, the start.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, maybe you've never seen a movie before, but, like, but every time, like, they reveal this big thing, it's like, it's really for more, the character's benefit than any of the audiences.
It is almost of a hindrance, just the fact that it is an origin story that's like, well, we have to have the character do certain things.
And then when they finally reveal Ares, it's like, again, it's an action scene shot at night with a bunch of fire around, and it's the only time where it really reminds me of the Snyderverse, Batman v Superman sort of thing. And I'm like, ugh, I don't really like this, but
the armor look cool.
Well, from what I saw of it, because it's still like this black armor, which is, I'm like, oh, well, at least they can black up the armor in this one, and then it's comic book accurate, because that's like what it, like, his costume in the comics usually is this black armor looking thing. And yeah, I don't know, I really like a lot of stuff about this, but it's like, for me, there's just enough stuff for it to holding it back from it being truly, truly great. I was trying to think about this, like, where would I rank it among among the Marvel films now? And I'm thinking, like, yeah, it reaches above the likes of, like, Iron Man 2, Thor: The Dark World, you know, the lesser of the
not as good ones.
Yeah. And I would say it even reaches some of the... It really reminds me of, like, the first phase of Marvel. Like Thor 1 and Captain America, not only in just story structure,
right,
but actual quality and thematic storytelling and visual storytelling and stuff, to the point where when she had that when she brings up the shield to block all the bullets in a World War I setting, it was kind of like, this feels familiar. But yeah, it was a really fun ride. I don't know, do you have any final thoughts?
Well, this is a movie that I'm pretty glad that did, rise above my expectations, because I went into this movie having fairly low expectations. I don't really expect much from the DC movies, because until now they've basically proven me right the whole time. So the fact that this movie has proven me wrong and has ended up being a really solid movie kind of has me excited.
Yeah,
but I still don't want to see Justice League.
We got to give it up to Patty Jenkins, who directed this film. Does a good job. She even just broke a record, I think, of the most money a film has ever made with a female director, which is not surprising. It's a superhero movie, and it's Wonder Woman, one of the more popular ones, so that's not surprising. But it beat out, I think the recent holder was 50 Shades of Grey.
That's disappointing.
So yay, an actual good movie we can get behind. And she's been directing a lot of TV recently.
Really?
Yeah, her last movie credit was 2003.
Wow.
With that Charlize Theron movie Monster, which was very good. But I didn't realize that she took a really long break. I think she has a TV movie on here too. She has a couple TV movies, like something called Five and Exposed. Not sure what those are, but those were more recent, like 2015. So it's not like she's been out of the game. She's been kind of messing around. So it's really neat to see her bring just a relative structure to this film. I know I keep repeating that, but oh my god, it's so refreshing to have this film follow a 3-act structure and just follow some film rules that I feel like the other films are missing. And having dialogue that's not only just not god-awful, but actually pretty compelling.
Right, enjoyable to watch.
And it's funny. It's actually funny to watch, Steve Trevor and Wonder Woman get to know each other. It's like, oh, that's fun. And, yeah, we do have to give Zack Snyder some credit, though, because he's one of the writers on this film.
He also apparently played a character.
Did he?
Yes, he was a generic soldier in one of the scenes, I think.
Oh, that's kind of fun.
At least that's what the trivia says.
Well, that's not surprising to me. Sometimes they give cameos and all that, and they could jazz.
If only he'd stay there.
So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'm nervous for the rest, how her treatment's going to be in the next upcoming Wonder Woman movies or whatever.
Well,
I'm not sure if I'm super excited for Justice League, but you know what? I'm going to give Aquaman a shot.
Yeah.
I'm going to give Aquaman a shot, and if, they'll make a sequel to this one, and I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty much down for that.
Well, if they make it more like Marvel, that means the next one might be Iron Man 2 or Thor 2.
Or it could be Winter Soldier.
Could be Winter Soldier.
You don't know. Yes. But
actually, Wonder Woman in a spy thriller actually sounds kind of awesome.
Well, that wouldn't be too out of place. I mean, Steve Trevor is a spy type character in this one. I mean, it's more of a war film than anything,
right?
But that wouldn't be completely out of place. I wouldn't mind if there's another complaint I had. It would be that the Greek mythology is very much left behind at a certain point.
I think they're almost have to do that just for now, especially if they're trying to build this universe. Adding in Greek, the fact that gods exist is already a bit odd for the rest of the films.
Well, they already said that, hey, Zeus created humans. Yeah. There you go. Hey, Christianity, fuck you. In this universe, you're just dead wrong. And it'd be like, oh, there's different interpretations. Nah, it proved that those dudes existed. And Ares' whole beef is that Zeus created humans.
Yeah.
That's his whole beef. That's why he's mad. And it's like, no, it's established. Zeus is our creator, dude. Get over it.
In this universe, yeah.
So yeah, I wouldn't mind watching Wonder Woman fight Minotaurs and, Gorgons and all this other crazy shit. Like, I want, like, let's get weird. Let's get weird, DC. I mean, come on. Yeah, and I like that they're like not adverse to the magic, which is nice. It would have made them feel different from Marvel if Doctor Strange hadn't already come out.
Right.
But you know what? They got the first female superhero film, so that's pretty good. They always have that. That's under their belt. That's a thing they can always come back to now. So as far as to steal from Kyle, a foundation, if you will, a bedrock to build off of, this is probably the best film they have for that.
Oh, easily.
So yeah, I'm gonna give it 4 really sexually confused Steve Trevors being tied up by the lasso of truth out of 5. I mean, again, it has some things that are holding it back, but if I cannot lie to you to say that I had a lot of fun watching this. What would you give it?
I'd probably give it a 7 out of 10.
7?
I said it's a really good movie. It hands down the best DC movie that's come out in a long time. Mm-hmm. It's a really solid movie that's funny at times, has great character development on both sides of the lane. Little forgettable villain, but whatever. It's really good. I like it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's interesting because I thought you liked it more than me. Like I thought you was gonna an 8 or even a 9 from you. We came out of that movie and you were like, "Holy shit, yeah!"
Yeah, but again, look at my base expectations.
It is nice to kind of like just have a film just meet basic film going expectations again from the DC verse.
Plus, it's not like a 7's a bad score either.
No, I just thought like I didn't expect to give it like because I thought it was like when I came off it, I'm like I think I might be not as jazzed about that movie as I initially was, but I'm still like it a lot.
I gave it a 7 because it is rather like overall it follows the structure, but it does it kind of follows the same route. It's very origin story. Mm-hmm. It's pretty much the same score. Like, I don't think we've ever given a score for Captain America. But I'd probably give that pretty much the same score, to be honest. Probably.
It's got a lot of the same things. Like, its villain is pretty stereotypical. Mm-hmm. It has the same, like
I said before, it's an origin story. It has limitations basically set upon it from the get-go.
Right. Well, I think that we'll talk a little bit more about the villains and some of the other stuff about the ending in a spoiler section if you want to take a break, and we'll be back right after this.
Now the world is ready for you and the wonders you can do. Make a hawk a dove, stop a war with love, make a liar tell the truth.
Alright, and we're back with the spoiler section for Wonder Woman.
Woo!
Alright, I'm not singing the song again.
Okay, good.
But yeah, we're going to be spoiling Wonder Woman. So for those of you who have not seen the film yet, go see it.
Yeah.
Go do it. Just tell DC with your dollars that this is the one that we like.
I almost want to go see this movie again. Just go ahead. Just give my money to DC. Be like, no. Just keep doing this.
That one, please. So yeah, just to talk a little bit more about the spoilery stuff, we'll get into the ending of this film, where I feel like a lot of the problems I have kind of come into focus. Like they were present throughout the rest of the film, but then the ending they kind of come into a laser focus.
Yeah,
for me.
There's just not as much good things happening to bypass it.
Kind of distract me. I'm like, oh, I like that. Like, or there's not as much trappings and stuff. The ending, like they end on this party that was going on, and the Steve stops her from murdering Ludendorff in the middle of just like this room of people, and it's like, what are you doing? Like, hey, that's Ares. I can kill this guy and stop the war. And It's like, you can't kill a fucking German high officer during a peace talks. That doesn't do good for peace talks is when assassinations happen. And you realize like Steve's whole goal is to get just to end this fucking war.
Right.
And he's not against the armistice. He just wants to make sure that the other side can't fuck up the armistice either with the the gas attack that they're planning. And Wonder Woman, like the town she saved earlier in the film, where we spend a little more character development with her and the rest of the team, it gets attacked by the new gas, and like that's where she comes to the conclusion, like, oh well, you were also being controlled by Ares, Steve Trevor. Like you're trying to stop me from killing him. It's just like, no, it's not that I'm under influence. It's just that it's more complicated than that. And it's interesting to see this woman that's been trained in the art of combat and technically war, but she doesn't know how to navigate a worldwide scope war with multiple sides, multiple factions, multiple motivations. And
I actually don't think that her whole thing was accusing him of protecting Ares. I think it was just more the fact that she was accusing him of basically doing bad deeds because of Ares.
Mm-hmm. Well, like that's her whole idea, was that like she's pissed because like she thought like these people wouldn't have died if he hadn't stopped her from killing Ares, because in her mind those gas bombs would not have been launched by people if Ares wasn't around. Yeah. And Steve's just like, no, they would have died anyway, man. If I'd have let you kill Ares, they would have shot those gas canisters, because that was their orders, and that's how things work. Yeah. So it's where they clash the most is just that their worldview is just completely different, and they have completely different experiences.
But you can't really blame her for thinking that, because that's what she was told basically the whole entire time. It's like, yeah, no, Ares starts with all the bad stuff. You get rid of Ares, the bad stuff stops.
Yeah, and
that's literally her goal this whole entire movie.
I love that Steve, like, no matter what, he can never believe it.
No.
Like, he's just like, he might want to believe it, like, and to Chris Pine's real credit, he sells that in a lot of his scenes where he's not even talking, where they're just talking about Ares, just like, you can see in his face, like, I can't tell you how much I want to believe you, but in my heart of hearts, I know it's not true. Yeah. And which is ironic when we get later to reveal that, hey, guess what? Ares is real. Yeah. Which is a weird thing for me that I don't know how to feel about. Because, yeah, we get, she finally comes to this other field in the middle of the night, which at least it's not raining, I guess. So there's that. She has a final confrontation with Ludendorff, murders that dude.
With a sword.
Yep. And, they're still packing on the gas canisters, and Steve comes up like, yeah, well, sure, and, like, he has to like, I thought he was gonna be like, oh, goodness, that's surprising. Like, no, I knew this was gonna happen. And I was like, why are they still doing this? Like, because maybe we suck. Maybe we're not that great. And he's like, maybe, and she has to come to the realization that humanity is not this pure little, like, snowflake of, like, a race that she thinks we are, and, like, that we're only corrupted by, like, this one outside force. And, yeah, so she's basically, like, she has, like, this crisis of conscience, like, wow, why am I even doing any of this then?
It's a really good scene in this movie, too.
And I do like, Steve is coming at her with like, look, maybe we don't deserve it, and maybe I'm not a good person either. All I know is that I can save like I can't save everyone, but I can save like these 1,000 people that are gonna die on the fucking front, like German and Allied forces alike, and I can do that. So I'm gonna go do that, and I gotta go do that right now. So if you're not down with it, just I guess that's it. I really like that he never really apologizes. I guess he does apologize, but he never really makes excuses for the human race. No. It's like he's just like, no, yeah, things are bad. They kind of suck, but I'm just trying to make things a little bit better, and that's all I can do. Like this is the most that I can do, and I'm cool with that, and I accept that, and you got to find a way to accept that too. And yeah, so then Ares does finally show up, and it turns out it's the British dude from the beginning.
Yeah, which is pretty predictable because he just seems out of place for most of the movie.
See, I thought for a second that they were going to do Dr. Poison as the as the Ares. I'm like, oh, wouldn't it be cool to have a female villain as well, because they never show Ares outside of the armor, and like I think they just mentioned Zeus as Ares' father, and I was like, oh, they're being a little clever with those gender pronouns, maybe. like they'll switch it up, but I'm like, they weren't gonna go that crazy. So it ends up just being this other dude from the beginning who sent them on the mission to begin with. So I guess he kind of set his own ass up for failure. But he seems frustrated because he's still wounded from Zeus's like big attack, and he says that he's not up to his full strength. Like he can't just wipe out humanity himself anymore. So he has to basically just influence them to, I'm like, destroy each other. And it's not like the influence that Diana thinks it is, where it's like, oh, I corrupt people and like I make them, give into their violent nature. And Ares is just like, no, I'm more like a Loki type character where I just kind of whisper in their ear like an idea, like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if you made this nasty gas? That's pretty neat, right? And they all like they do make a point of like all the humans had their own motivations to begin with. Ares just gave them a little nudge and an idea to do like
how to accomplish their goals.
Yeah. So
still makes him a dick, but
right. But it's kind of like, humans suck, and I'm going to prove it by
having them kill each other.
Having them kill each other, and it's like, yeah, but you still had to go and find the worst of humanity in order to do that.
Yeah.
And it's not working. They're signing a peace treaty. and then he even means like that, like, no, I have them sign an armistice every once in a while so that they, like, the war continues. And I'm like, what? Like, but it would stop. Like maybe if they sold it like that way, people can forget, like, eventually people will forget about the horrors of war.
Well, I think he does say something like that.
Yeah, and then they'll start fighting again. And I'm like, yeah, but then they have time to repopulate, and your goal of ending humanity isn't really getting... You know what? Never mind.
Well, actually, that's usually the time where repopulation hits the most. That's right after a war. Like,
yeah,
nope, time to fuck.
Yeah, it's time to fuck. So I'm like, I'm not sure if I see your logic here, but maybe he just likes the carnage. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, we get this final big fight between him and Wonder Woman, and I don't know. Like he comes off as like this weird British, like high kind of high aristocrat, even in the Greek armor.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's weird for me hearing that voice coming out of Ares' mouth.
Especially since he still has a mustache.
Yeah, and I was just like, what the hell? So, yeah, we get the big action sequence, and it's not like it's super off or anything, but it does have Snyderisms in it of like slow-mo and like weird cuts. And then we get a moment where Steve has to sacrifice himself in order to save everybody from the gas. He takes off with a plane, and he blows up in midair so that it doesn't affect anybody. But I'm like, wait, wouldn't that make unless like the gas all burns up, because I guess it was a hydrogen based?
Yeah, it was hydrogen based.
Okay, well that's dumb. Like, you should not make that. I mean, if you're just gonna make an explosive, like what the? But never mind. Then Wonder Woman gets like that whole, she's pinned down, she sees Steve's plane go up, and she gives like, no, and I'm just like, maybe it's just that no's are like ruined for me ever since Darth Vader's famous one in Revenge of the Sith. But it feels like it's in slow motion, and it's like, no, it's all over melodramatic, and it's over the top, and I'm like, maybe this could have been a little bit more, like, not so stereotypical. Like, just, she doesn't shake her fist at the sky, but that's only because she's pinned down, I think.
I actually do like the scene that happens, like, immediately afterwards, though, where Ares, like, mocks you, like, look at him. Look, he was useless, and he died, and he left you nothing. Except that he did leave her something. He actually left her his dad's watch.
Yeah, like, he did, like, leave her a physical thing as well as a metaphorical thing.
Right. I kind of like that.
And she's about to kill, like, she goes on this big, like, fury rampage to take out the German soldiers, and Ares is like, yes, good, give in to your hate. He goes full Palpatine, and he gives her Dr. Poison to murder, so to fulfill her cycle, and I was like, no, I'm not like you, and I'm like, bitch, you murdered a lot of people in this movie. Like, maybe it's
not out of revenge.
Right, not out of hatred or whatnot, just more of like, yeah, I'm not afraid to kill a bitch if they come at me with these bayonets or whatever. Yeah. Which is weird when you think that she thinks that their men are just being manipulated by Ares, And that, like, oh, well, as soon as I get Ares manipulated, we'll all stop fighting. And, like, wow, for someone who thinks that, you sure are murdering a lot of these guys.
She knows what war is.
So, yeah, the reason she doesn't kill Dr. Hurt is because she gets this flashback to what Steve was trying to say. Mm-hmm. And that's another point where the editing is a little weird, because it just goes back, and I'm like, okay, so I'm not as confused, because I know this is a flashback, because we just saw the scene, but now we get to hear it. So I'm like, so wait, is she remembering this now? Like, she did hear him, or is she remembering now and just like, oh, and she's remembering with her what he said via lip reading, via her memory? Yeah. I was just like, what?
I didn't like that scene either.
I was just like, wait, so did she just forget about this, or what was the deal here? It felt very convenient. I think I might have been okay if we just heard that scene from the beginning,
right, and
then she just drops the tank without a flashback. I would have been like, yeah, it probably would have worked a little bit more. It wouldn't have been as continuity confusing. Mm-hmm. And yeah, we finally get Ares shoot some lightning at her, and she gets this weird reflective ability, because of course she is the god killer. We didn't mention that too.
Oh, yeah.
Is that the god killer that Zeus left was actually her, because Zeus is her daddy.
Well, that was also pretty obvious, because just looking at at first I actually thought it was going to reveal that Ares was her dad. Mm-hmm. But either way, something didn't add up. We're like, oh yes, Zeus gave you life. Oh, but Zeus also died and left one thing before he died. I'm like, yeah, that timeline doesn't add up. He can't leave something and die and then give you life. There's a disparity there.
So yeah, the thing I was really nervous about was that I thought they were going to make Ares the dad instead, and like I was like, ugh, I hope that they don't do that. And I'm not crazy about Zeus being the dad too, because I do like the fact that her original origin was that Wonder Woman came from an island of women, was born of women. Mm-hmm. Her creation had nothing to do with a man, and well, I guess even if she was just made out of clay, and then I guess Zeus does give her life more than anything, but still having it be more like literal, like him being the literal father is just, I don't know, for me it takes a little something away from like the whole idea of like, you know, female empowerment, because all of her crazy cool powers come from her daddy. Yeah. Like, she wouldn't have them if her dad didn't, if Zeus wasn't her dad, she wouldn't have her super crazy cool powers. And I'm just kind of like, so, but that's more of an aesthetic. It's more of an aesthetic thing, and it's from the comics. Like, they did that a while ago already. So, yeah, I think it was around the New 52 as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess I could see why they did it. It simplifies the story a little bit, and it's not like she has a consistent origin story anyway. She's got like 7 different origin stories that they keep mixing around and mixing up, so it's always kind of confusing. But yeah, we take out Ares and we murder the last god, apparently. So there's going to be no more gods in any of the other DC films unless they do a prequel.
Yeah, or at least no Greek gods.
Mm-hmm. Which for me, I'm like, that seems like you're leaving a lot of opportunity on the table of like, hey, no more gods, and like, what about, you know, hey, how about, I don't know how gung-ho they are about doing crazy monsters like, you know, minotaurs and all that other crap, but
I mean, they could always, maybe they can reveal like Hercules.
Yeah, they could, or, you know, a couple, like some other stuff like that.
Well, because in the DC comics, isn't Hercules an asshole?
I don't remember in the DC comics, but I know in Marvel actually has a character Hercules, based off of the Greek pantheon, who teams up with Thor every once in a while. So that's kind of fun. I know he's more of a drinking, kind of hard, fun kind of dude.
Right.
I don't know what the DC version is. So yeah, the ending leaves me a little cold. I do gotta say, I miss Chris Pine. Like, I'm like, ugh, I know he wouldn't have been in the later films, because he would have been like 100, but it would have been cool to see a little bit more from his character, like say flashbacks or anything like that, because he was super fun. He's like he's running tail around all the other actors in this film, actually. just with his charisma, and it's just like, man, this guy is a really good leading man, but he makes a good secondary to Wonder Woman in this one too. So it sucks because it's still in the Wonder Woman movie. My favorite part still is this dude.
Yeah, well,
Which sucks. I'm like, oh, damn it. But he's so funny. I like him a lot. And,
I mean, the beginning part of the movie has a bunch of women, but once Wonder Woman leaves the island, it's all guys.
it's all dudes.
Except for Dr. Poison, who is not really a...
Yeah, well, she's a scientist or whatever.
She's like a side villain.
Uh-huh.
And then
Oh, and how about that scene where they had, like, the gas, or they put the gas in the German high command, like, they threw the gas in there, and then they threw the mask in just to fuck with them?
yeah, it's like, why would you throw the mask? It's not going to do anything. They don't know that. Like, wow,
I thought,
you're an asshole.
I just thought, like, that was so over the top.
Right?
It was, like, so, like...
It's a diva moment right there.
It was just... And then they giggle about it. They go, hee.
And they run off like Scooby-Doo villains.
Yeah, and I'm like, are you in a different movie? Like, what do you... you're in the Snyderverse right now,
It was kind of funny.
So I don't know, like it's not like the first two acts were flawless either, but the third act was where I was kind of like noticing a lot of like, here's some of the things that I'm not super crazy about in this film. And it does leave me with a lot of hope for the future, though, for future Wonder Woman installments. And I'm looking forward to Wonder Woman 2, and let's see what Aquaman can give us, and maybe we'll get some more female superhero movies. I want to see a Zatanna. Mm-hmm. We can get a Zatanna movie, some magic, like some now.
You know how exhausting that would be to say all those lines backwards.
No, you just have to read. Someone else would just have to write them. That would be the hard part, and then you just read them.
Fair enough.
But then, I would. I don't know what other female superheroes I want to see.
Well, like the Gotham City Sirens is gonna be a movie, right?
Yeah, that ought to be fun. That'll be pretty cool. Like one of the three good things about the Suicide Squad movie is gonna be in that, so that's fun. So good on you, DC. You keep it up. I guess is my main advice. And with that, I think we can bring this review to an end. We can take off our bracelets, put that tiara on the nightstand, and just call it a day.
How'd you know that's where I keep my tiara?
That's where everyone keeps their tiara. Right?
Fair enough.
Right on the head, right next to the BDSM rope. I mean, my lasso of truth. And with that, we are going to get on out of here. Again, if you like this movie review, check out some of our other movie reviews on our website, unapologeticgeekout.com. If you want to check out just our normal episodes of the UGO podcast, you can do so there, or on our iTunes page, or Stitcher, or pretty much up where any place you can get podcasts, really. And make sure you subscribe to us on iTunes and give us those 5-star reviews, because they help us out with visibility. And if you want to, whatever goes in that review box, I will read on the air word for word. That is my guarantee. If you want to write me in your Wonder Woman, your pitch for a female superhero movie, like your Hawk Girl movie. Tell me how Hawk Girl's going to work. I'd be curious. I'll read it on there word for word.
Actually, they could do that almost Guardians-esque if they just have her not be on Earth at all and make it just like entirely in a different part of space.
Thanagar or whatever. I would be interested. If you want to give us a message, maybe just hit us up on Facebook, maybe on Twitter at UGO Podcast, or if you want to just give us an email, you can also do that at unapologeticgeekout@gmail.com. And with that, we can get on out of here. We are Unapologetic Geekout, and
We're out.